Well, over the past couple of weeks, people have been wondering if things could get any worse for the 2025 Arizona Diamondbacks. Unfortunately, on Sunday, they learned the answer appears to be yes. We're talking Corbin Burnes' injury and a whole lot more on today's edition of Snakes Territory. Welcome into another episode of Snakes Territory. I'm Jesse Friedman alongside Jack Sommers. And Jack, after the conclusion of that Pirates series, it felt like the Diamondbacks had really reached a new low, that they had truly bottomed out. And then we got a game on Friday where there were early game defensive mistakes, some sloppy play. They wind up losing that game by 2 runs. Then we got Saturday's game where they gave up 10 runs in the first inning. And then, as if that was not enough, on Sunday, yes, the Diamondbacks won, but they perhaps lost their best starting pitcher in Corbin Burnes for we'll see how long. Still awaiting some news on that front. Jack, not an ideal weekend of baseball for the Diamondbacks, to say the least.
It was very difficult to sit there and watch it all transpire and, watch these guys go through it. Very upsetting to them, of course, and, just not an easy thing to watch, both from the press box and watching the games and then seeing all the reactions to it afterwards, seeing the fans, deal with so much upsetness, justifiably so. So it was not a happy weekend in D-backs land.
So Corbin Burnes was cruising along. He was at 4 2/3 innings, was pitching really well, had not allowed a run as of the time that he exited the game. And then some things changed, Jack. He appeared to be uncomfortable. It wasn't immediately clear what it was, but you saw looking back at some replay footage that he was kind of shaking out his elbow in between pitches. And eventually he called out the trainer after CJ Abrams singled to right field. He knew that something was wrong, and the Diamondbacks wasted no time in getting him out of that game.
Yeah, I kind of noticed just as we track on the Baseball Savant website, the player breakdowns page. I noticed like, wow, what's going on with these pitch velocities on the cutter? All of a sudden, they were down to like 90, 91. Whereas usually around 93, 4 tops out 95. So that was also a red flag. Like, why did he also suddenly lose so much velocity? So, he comes off the mound. Everybody kind of realizes, something's really amiss. The broadcast initially thought it was an oblique, but the professional lip readers all over Twitter immediately picked up, the words "my elbow," and he said that he turned around, faced the center field cam, and let out an expletive, deleted, and next thing you know, he's off the mound. So we did get to speak to him and to Torey after the game. The official diagnosis for now is elbow discomfort. He's having an MRI tomorrow morning. One of the things, getting to know Torey Lavello, he usually always says, well, I have minimal concern, right? He's always extremely optimistic,
Right.
and I have minimal concern. But towards the end of his press conference today, he used the words, somewhat more than minimal concern or above minimal concern. And he gave a very somber look when he said it. Corbin Burnes, for his sake, I mean, he was pretty chill in the clubhouse afterwards. He had his young son sitting there with him and eating a little bowl of strawberries, and he's so attentive to his boy. It's really kind of cool to watch. He's so patient with him, and just he has no problem letting everybody wait until he gets his kids set up, and the kid's a very well behaved little boy. And then he turns around and he's like, "Okay, Daddy's got to work now," and turns around and professionally addresses the media. It's quite a I know I'm kind of on a little tangent here, but it's a pretty interesting dynamic and window into what kind of father and human being he is. But he said that he felt tightness. He repeated that a couple times. He said
Yeah.
it felt tight, but he never felt a popping sensation. So he was encouraged by that. But he's getting an MRI tomorrow. Turns out he was joking with me. I asked him, I said, "So what time's the MRI?" And I'm thinking logistically, like, so what time might we get some news? And he says, 4 or 5 in the morning. So I actually put that in my tweet, and I missed the fact that right after he said, "No, I'm just screwing with you."
It
But,
was
probably early in the morning.
it was interesting, to your point, how kind of chill he was in that interview. I don't want to read too much into that because, as you said, his son is sitting right there. He's probably not going to sound super concerned. And frankly, at this point, there's nothing he can do, right? It just, they're going to do the MRI and it's going to show what it's going to show, and nothing that he does at this point between now and then is going to change that. So maybe he's just choosing to kind of be positive about the whole thing. But you mentioned the lip readers earlier, Jack. They, of course, were very much on their game the moment that this incident went down. I usually try to stay away from that. I try to stay away from, trying to take a guess at what people are saying. It's certainly not my strong suit, but it was pretty obvious, honestly, that he said elbow. Geraldo Perdomo and Gino Suarez, the infielders crowded around him when he called the trainer over, and it was pretty clear that he said the word elbow to, I think it was Geraldo Perdomo, and yeah, you saw him repeat that word later on, and then Gino Suarez in his post game interview said the word elbow as well. So there was really no mystery about that. There was, going back to the lip readers, they did pick out a more interesting phrase, I guess. I don't know if this was actually what Corbin Burnes said, but they thought that Corbin Burnes said, "My elbow is gone, it's dead." Those were the words floating around on social media. I believe John Boy, of course, they have a storied history of being very good at lip reading. They were the ones kind of spreading that around primarily. So we don't know for sure if Corbin Burnes actually said that, but I think it's important to note that while he might have been fairly chill in that post-game interview, he was far from chill in the moment. You mentioned the expletive that he blurted out, and he also just, as he was walking off the mound, I don't know if there were tears in his eyes necessarily, but you could tell that he was kind of emotional. He didn't look like someone who had just, at first I wondered, well, there's an illness going around the clubhouse, like maybe he just is feeling exhausted or something. It was pretty clear from his body language that something more concerning was going on.
Yeah, I mean, he knew something was wrong before that last pitch. He felt it kind of, coming up on him, and that tightness had increased. It certainly at least 3, 4 pitches before, if not more. So he knew something was up. Look, at bottom line is he's going to probably almost certainly end up on the injured list. The best case scenario is it's some kind of a strain that, he's got some kind of elbow strain that is going to take rest and rehabilitation. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving a diagnosis, but there's almost zero chance in my mind that he, skips a IL stint. The only question is whether or not he's going to require surgery. My advice to everybody is be patient over the next few days. Usually the way this goes down, especially with the Diamondbacks, is they take their time figuring things out. If there is a question, sometimes does he need a second opinion? And the second opinion, people think immediately, and I'm guilty of this, oh, then he's definitely consulting with another surgeon to see, for sure, does he need the surgery? But the last time we encountered that, it was the player didn't need surgery, and they just wanted to reconfirm with a
Right.
second opinion that the player didn't need surgery. So, learning my lesson from the last incident of this, I think we're just going to have to wait it out and see how long it takes them to tell us what's going on. And honestly, it wouldn't shock me if it took to the end of the week or more to find out exactly what his status is. I don't expect an answer here in 24 hours or even 48.
Well, we're going to talk more about the Burnes situation, the implications of that, both for Ryne Nelson and just the Diamondbacks as a whole. We'll also talk more about the Sunday game and the weekend series that the Diamondbacks lost to the Nationals. All that and more after this break.
FT fan by now, if you're buying, selling, trading, collecting cards, Arena Club is the spot. We've been talking about them all season long, but I do want to focus on the slab pack experience, Kratz, since you've been ripping some slab packs digitally. And what happens?
I mean, as a kid, you wanted to rip open the packs. How can they do this digitally? Oh, baby. This is exciting. How the graphics come out and everything. And oh, yeah, the card that you pull, you can actually get that, John, physically. So it's perfect. It's all in one place and it's a super exciting experience.
Yeah, they send that to you from the vault if you want it. But if you look at it and you're like, it's not the card for me, I want to sell it back, go for it. You can do any of that on Arena Club, and you can acquire the best value for your money with those slab packs, transparent checklists, and Arena Club's Slab Safe program. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/FAL and use code FAL. arenaclub.com/FAL. Use code FAL.
Well, we'll talk more about Ryne Nelson in particular here in a moment, but the Diamondbacks did win this Sunday game, Jack, and they deserve some credit for that, I suppose, despite the fact that it wasn't a great weekend for them on the whole. But they scored 3 runs in the first inning after Corbin Burnes struck out the side in the top half of the first. They did not muster a base hit the rest of the day, but you got to give the bullpen some credit here, Jack. 4 1/3 scoreless innings after Corbin Burnes exited the game. This would have stung all the more if the Diamondbacks had lost this game, but they found a way to pull it out. And I think you're muted, Jack. Jack's microphone is very sensitive, so this one isn't on him. It's really not.
So the bullpen actually lowered their bullpen ERA from 5.51 to 5.28 over the last 2 games, which is encouraging. That moved them from 26 to 27th to 26th place. Of course, 25th place, Philadelphia is 4.65. So they're going to have a ways to go to move up in the rankings. But all joking aside, it was good to see that the bullpen was able to, put up a lot of zeros this series. They did a really good job. And especially at the end of the game, getting a glimpse of Shelby Miller and Justin Martinez locking down the 8th and 9th in such dominant fashion was really nice to see. I mean, that's the kind of thing that they need. And if they can, get pretty good work before them and get the ball bridged over to them, they may actually be able to turn this around and have a better bullpen going forward than we might have anticipated. Jeff Brigham's been a nice little addition, by the way. He's got pretty good stuff. He got a lot of swing and miss. Ignore his PCL ERAs. They don't mean anything. I mean, I think the home runs he gave up there were like 95 mile an hour exit velocities and, just balls that wouldn't be home runs in the major leagues. I mean, look, he's was able to be picked up the way he was for a reason, but at the same time, he's got pretty good stuff. So he could be an interesting little find there for them. So anyway, just happy to see that. Gino Suarez, that home run went 466 feet. That's his longest home run ever in the StatCast era, according to
Wow.
Alex Weiner. Alex Weiner looked that up while he was sitting next to me. So if that information is wrong, blame Alex. But anyway, stealing his little soundbite there. The ball traveled all the way over the home run porch and bounced pretty high up that wall, I think, in back of the home run porch on the other side of the walkway. I mean, it was just an absolute bomb. And they needed it because that was the margin of winning.
I swear I've never seen Gino Suarez hit like a cheap shot wall scraper type home run. It just never happens. It's always like 430 plus, it feels like.
Hey, if any of our listeners happen to pop into our YouTube comments, if you know if Gino's ever been in the home run derby, pop in a comment and let us know. I'd like to see him in the home run derby. I think that would be fun to see. The only thing is it's pretty tiresome, so I don't know if he's got the stamina for it. But I'd like to see his first round.
Well, I don't know if he's ever been in the MLB home run derby. I do know as you probably do as well, that he was in the Venezuelan home run derby over the offseason and he won it. So a pretty electrifying performance there. So yeah, I guess he was able to. He had enough stamina in that in order to win that thing. So maybe we get a chance to see that in the majors at some point here. But I think the big story, one of the big stories from the weekend, Jack, is Ryne Nelson and the fact that in an 11-0 game on Saturday, of course, Brandon Pfaadt did not record an out in the first inning. You all people probably know this by now. A game the Diamondbacks are getting absolutely crushed in. Ryne Nelson, who had moved into the starting rotation and had two really, really good starts, suddenly in the bullpen is warming up in a game that the Diamondbacks are down by 11 runs. People are confused, wondering what on earth is happening. And it turned out, Jack, that on Friday, Ryne Nelson was told that he was going to move back to the bullpen, that Eduardo Rodriguez presumably was ready to go. He pitched in the complex league on Friday, and I guess did well enough, even though he gave up a few home runs, and the Diamondbacks were prepared to move Nelson over to the bullpen where they thought he could have more impact. And I think you and I, Jack, probably have a lot of questions about that decision. Probably less necessary for us to talk about that decision now that I think Ryne Nelson is going to be headed back to the rotation.
I asked Tori today, I said, I assume that this means the Corbin Burnes injury means that you're going to be revisiting the Ryne Nelson decision. And he gave me kind of a wry smile. And he said, yeah, that's one of the things we're going to head right back in my office and circle back and discuss. So when that happened, I mean, when I looked up and saw him had, warming up in the bullpen, I had the same reaction as pretty much everybody else watching or finding out or reading about it. It just didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Quite frankly, it even upset me a little bit too. I mean, I was not a happy camper when I saw that. And subsequently, after the game, when we found out that, that was the plan to move him back to the bullpen, I went into analysis mode, like, okay, what are they doing? Why are they doing it? And Tori, quite surprisingly, said that they've made the decision to have him throw 8 to 12 times a month, or as much as 3 times a week.
Yeah.
So I followed up and I said, so that means you're shortening him up into a short relief role, and potentially for high leverage. And Tori began his answer by saying, well, not right away, not initially, la, 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 la. And then they got to the end and he said, but yes, we're shortening him up. So he confirmed what I was asking. And I thought, okay, I get why they might want to do that, because they felt like they had no other way to shore up or bolster that bullpen. But I wrote a very long piece breaking it down, and I just think that this is a decision that's fraught with risk for the player's health, number one, first and foremost. I think that he's already just barely kind of squeaked by with the protocol that they've had for him. I mean, he worked as a long man throwing 30 to 35 pitches, and it was 55, 65. Then he had a start at 65 and 84. And they, to their credit, I mean, they managed to work through that and keep him on somewhat of a starter routine. But then if you shorten him up now, what's going to happen if they do get back in a pennant race and now you have no choice and you have to run him out there on back-to-back days or 3 out of 4? He's not conditioned for that.
Yeah.
And to me, that just seems like a super risky move when it comes to the pitcher's health. And then secondly, what I wrote, not knowing what was going to happen today, is if you shorten him up, there's no turning back at that point. They're really, you absolutely cannot then turn around and say, oh, we got to lengthen him out again. Had this Burnes injury happen 5 weeks from now and Ryne Nelson had already been shortened up, then you no longer have him as an option to start. And who are you stuck with? You're stuck with Tommy Henry or Christian Mena, who pitched well in relief, but we don't know how he's going to work out. He doesn't have a proven track record as a starter. Or maybe Bryce Jarvis, who threw 6 no-hit innings in Reno, which is pretty impressive. But, I mean, we've seen a lot of Bryce Jarvis. I don't think he would be a reliable starting option. And it's just such a risky proposition. Then you go into the fact that Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen are free agents at the end of the year. And now you've got to convert Ryne Nelson from short relief back into starting again during the offseason. It just seems awfully messy and smacks of desperation. Now, in an odd way, if the Burnes injury forces Nelson to not pitch out of the bullpen and just continue as a starter, and maybe he gets a start in Cincinnati next Friday or Saturday, that may save them from themselves and making what I believe is a bad and incorrect decision. Not the way you want it to happen, but it may actually forestall them from making a bad choice. So for any listeners out there, go ahead and read my article or just listen to me here. I think it's a mistake. I didn't like it. And I think it's a very desperate move. That's my opinion.
I don't want to beat the dead horse here because, again, with the Corbin Burnes injury, the calculus has certainly changed, and I don't think the Diamondbacks are going to shorten Ryne Nelson up into a one-inning reliever. But it is funny that we had this conversation just a few days ago when we did our mailbag episode. Somebody asked us about the possibility of Ryne Nelson being shortened up, and you made the point about the health concerns, which I think is valid, and I made the point that in general, if you have a pitcher who is effective as a starter, they should remain a starter, almost regardless of what your bullpen situation is like. You know, like no team that has some really, really good starting pitcher is ever considering moving them to their bullpen just because they have bullpen problems. Like if you have a good starter, that is a very valuable role and you should keep them there. In some twisted way, I was kind of rethinking that when this news first came down, that like maybe this Diamondbacks bullpen is an exception because it is so bad that the Diamondbacks actually would have more to gain by moving Nelson into the bullpen. Like maybe there's a scenario where their win total is higher with Nelson there than as a starter, even though I generally disagree with that. But of course, even that would very much hinge on Eduardo Rodriguez being able to step in and, you know, do a decent job for them in the rotation. And Jack, that remains a big question mark. I referenced it earlier. He pitched in the Complex League the other day. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I believe it was either 4 1/3 or 4 2/3, 3 runs, all on homers, and all solo homers, I should say. And he had 9 strikeouts, which is frankly kind of similar to what we've seen from him at the big league level, where there's a lot of strikeouts, but there's also a lot of baseballs going over the fence.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing. Is Eduardo Rodriguez capable of coming back and being an effective starter? And if you felt really confident in that, and they must be confident in that. I mean, they're the ones that signed him to a 4-year, $80 million deal. And,
well, they were probably more confident about it then than they are right now. But
yeah, but they're also a lot more confident in it than I am, or maybe you are. I'm not sure about you, but you were pretty defending him pretty good just a couple of weeks ago. But you know, look, at this point, I think that, like you said, it's probably a moot point for at least a while. I can't imagine with Burnes going on the injured list probably that they're going to go through with this move. They're going to have to backtrack on that. There's just no choice.
So we'll certainly keep you updated on that situation. I think we've both voiced our opinions. As long as I guess this feels unlikely, honestly, at this point. But if Corbin Burnes is able to play a meaningful role in the rotation the rest of the year, I think I probably want Ryne Nelson staying in the rotation. But we'll see what happens as far as that's concerned. Transitioning to the rest of the series, Jack, as I said earlier, the Friday and Saturday games were both very forgettable, although you might not be able to forget about the Saturday game, even if you wanted to. Of course, Brandon Pfaadt did not record an out in that game, and Scott McGough came in, and he was not much better than Brandon Pfaadt was, and the Nationals wind up scoring 10 runs. It was truly a sight to behold in all of the worst ways, but it was very much a continuation of what's been happening for this Diamondbacks team recently, where it just feels like everything that could go wrong is going wrong for this team right now?
Especially on the pitching side, but it's pitching and defense, right? Run prevention. The defense did not help. That Marte era at the beginning of the game that Merrill Kelly pitched. I just don't know how he doesn't make that play. It was just mind-boggling, and
Yeah.
it cost him, I think, an extra 17 pitches in the inning. Set Merrill up to, then had a 30-plus pitch third, gave up the big home run to the 3-run homer to Josh Bell. And we just saw that coming. He was down 3. I saw it coming. I called that homer on the pitch. It was a 3-1 count, and I said, "Here comes the Josh Bell revenge homer," and then boom, the next pitch was, blasted out of there. It was just incredible weekend from that perspective. Just some of the defensive plays overall that we saw, all these miscues. I don't understand why they have struggled so much defensively, but they have. I mean, their defensive, the average of their defensive run saves and their fielding run value, I went through and tallied those up by position and added them up. And in 2022, that was plus 32 runs. In 2023, it was plus 36 runs. In 2024, it was plus 14. And we did see a drop off in the defense last year, but it was still above average. And if you take 2025's numbers and prorate them to 162 games, it would come out to negative 12.
Wow.
So this defense went from top 1, 2, 3 in the league for 2 years running to somewhat above average, living off their reputation last year. Kind of like a Gold Glover, isn't really a Gold Glover anymore, but he wins a Gold Glove again anyway because they don't know who else to vote for.
That
to
doesn't
now,
happen.
to now, I mean, the defense has been clearly below average, and it just shouldn't be. I mean, yes, some of these guys are older. Lourdes Gurriel's lost a step. Gino Suarez has lost a step. So it's not a shock that their defense is not as good as it used to be. But, some of the other players, I mean, I don't understand why Alek Thomas is rating out below average, but he is. Ketel Marte has had all these hamstring injuries and lower half injuries. Last year, he was kind of keeping up with Bryce Terang through the first half of the season on defensive run saves. And, then after the ankle injury, he just stopped adding to his total. And this year, he's average or below average. I mean, so it's, there's some of its age and regression to the mean, but there's just so many mental errors as well. There was that play at first base with Josh Naylor and Ryan Thompson, which, again, just inexplicable that Naylor just doesn't flip the ball to Thompson there, instead runs into him. Today, Naylor, almost cost them on a drop pop-up. And he got lucky. He dropped the ball on a transfer, and the umpire, said, no, he caught the ball, dropped on transfer. But still, I mean, hands of stone. Dude, it's a pop-up. Hold on to it. So, it's really strange and frustrating to watch. I don't really have an answer for it. Clearly, Torrey didn't. He was very upset, when we were ticking off, asking about some of the plays, there was a ground rule double that Lourdes Gurriel ran a bad route. As we were going through them, he's like, out. And the Gurriel fly ball, out. Oh, the play at second base, out. It, everything he just pounded out the word out. That should have been an out. So, he's trying to get them in line. I don't know why he's not able to. It's been a year-long problem.
Other notes from the weekend, and I guess with this one going further back than just this weekend, Corbin Carroll has really just struggled offensively for a while now. He finished the month of May with a .214 batting average. He's 3 for his last 26. Torrey gave him a day off on Sunday with a lefty on the mound, and Corbin also had a day off on May 24th in the Cardinals series. So, I mean, that was 8 days ago. So Corbin just continues to not quite look right at the plate. Jack, I'm curious what you're seeing there.
I mean, clearly the approach is off. He's being too aggressive. He's not taking enough pitches, and he's swinging a lot of pitches out of the zone. Which causes him either not really hit the ball as hard as he's capable, or as consistently hard as he's capable, and too much swing and miss. I mean, he went 3 for his last 31 in his previous 8 games. I mean, that was what really tanked his main numbers. It was kind of ebb and flow from there, but he's down to 254 on the year for his batting average. And his on base percentage is only 327. He's your leadoff hitter. He needs to have a better approach at the plate and work on getting on base and doing damage. I mean, right now, Corbin Carroll is a guy that has a mediocre OBP and hits a lot of home runs and runs really fast.
Yeah.
I mean, that's he needs to work on his approach. I don't think it's a swing fix issue. I think it's just what he's swinging at and how aggressive he's being on the wrong pitches and the wrong counts.
We mentioned it in our last show, but I'll say it again here. His chase rate for the season is 34.1%, which is in the 16th percentile. So much higher than the average hitter. The league average is usually around 26%, somewhere in the mid upper 20s. So he's certainly well above that. I'm still not too concerned about Corbin Carroll. His Savant page is still very bright red. I think there's been not a ton of bad luck recently, but maybe a little bit of bad luck that's contributing to this as well. Geraldo Perdomo is now the Diamondbacks.
I just want to remind everybody, Corbin Carroll's roughly a career 260 batting average hitter.
Yeah.
And all of the projections project him to roughly be a 260 batting average hitter. When we see Corbin Carroll batting 327 or something, that's probably not going to last. His overall style and approach and the amount of strikeouts and all of that. I mean, he may have a career best year where he hits 290, 300. He did have the 285 as a rookie, but if you look at the total body of work, he's been a 260 hitter with power and great speed. I mean, so that's still like a really valuable player, but I wouldn't expect him to hit for high batting average over the long haul.
Yeah, I think that's fair. One other note from the series is that Justin Martinez, I think you mentioned this earlier, but he did look pretty good in his save opportunity in the game on Sunday, a scoreless inning with 2 strikeouts. And I guess it's Shelby Miller in the 8th and Justin Martinez in the 9th. What comes before those 2 guys in the back end, we don't really have a great idea of what that plan looks like. Jalen Beeks had another rough outing in the game today. Granted, he stepped into a tough situation with Corbin Burnes getting hurt and him having to abruptly enter the game, but he has given up a whole lot of base runners recently. It just has not looked the same as it did in the first month or so. This bullpen continues to be an adventure, but you got to give him credit, Jack, for the last couple days of that series being at least a step in the right direction.
More, please.
I think we'll be saying that a lot with this bullpen. At one point, I calculated it, and the Diamondbacks bullpen would have to throw like 150 scoreless innings or something like that in a row to get their team bullpen ERA down to the league average. Don't quote me on that. I don't know what the exact number is at this point, but it was a very, very large number. We're going to talk about the Braves series, a couple of other things here to finish out the show. But first, one more quick break here on Snakes Territory.
Scott, you need to check out this Roback hoodie I have. It's 85 plus degrees here in Florida. Look, lightweight, feels great, cool colors, perfect for those hot Florida days.
I agree, AJ. Color looks fire. And you can get your own sweatshirt, polo, hoodie. Go check out Roback. And if you do and you're a first-time customer, Roback.com using the code FOUL gets you 20% off your first purchase. RHOBACK.com, code FOUL. Get after it, FT fam.
Well, things aren't great in Diamondbacks land, Jack, but for whatever it's worth, things aren't great in Atlanta Braves land either right now, as they are coming off a series loss to the Boston Red Sox. I believe they've lost three series in a row. Similar situation to the Diamondbacks at this point. Their record for the year is 27-31. Diamondbacks at 28-31 entering this 3-game set. The D-backs last year were 2-5 against the Braves. They left a couple of games on the table that were particularly rough, if I recall correctly. Some notables here for Atlanta this season. Ronald Acuna Jr. has returned from injury, and he has looked like Ronald Acuna Jr., a 1042 OPS and 38 plate appearances so far. Another standout for me, Jack, is that Drake Baldwin, a young catcher at 24 years old, Rookie of the Year candidate, a pretty strong Rookie of the Year candidate so far in 2025. He has an 868 OPS and a 321 batting average to start the season as one of the Braves' catching options alongside Sean Murphy.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the Braves started off 0-7, and then they fought their way back to 500, but they're 3-7 in their last 10. And so there's a lot of upsetness going on in their world as well. Maybe the old adage of it's not who you play, it's when you play them will work in the Diamondbacks' favor this time, and certainly didn't against the hot Washington Nationals. But with a little bit of luck, they catch, maybe Spencer Strider on an off day, or Chris Sale on an off day. Does he have off days these days?
But he did early in the season, but lately he's looked a whole lot better. Grant Holmes in the finale of the series against Brandon Pfaadt, he's had a pretty good season as well. And then Zach Gallen going against Strider on Tuesday, and then Merrill Kelly going against Sale in that Wednesday game.
Yeah, I mean, Strider's 0-3. He's got a 4.5 ERA. He's only started 3 games, pitched 14 innings. So, we'll see what he's got up his sleeve.
Yeah. I feel like I'm trying to weigh, Jack, how much it's worth our time to dive into kind of the ramifications if the Corbin Burnes injury is in fact serious. And it feels like there is a non-zero chance, maybe a reasonably high chance. We really don't know that Corbin Burnes is going to miss significant time with this injury. I don't think we need to go into that too much in this episode, but I guess the first thing that comes to mind for me along those lines is that the Diamondbacks might frankly be headed in the direction of selling at the trade deadline. Not that it's impossible for this team without Corbin Burnes to find a way. If Zach Gallen starts to pitch like Zach Gallen has at times in the past, and the bullpen figures some things out, like there's enough talent here position player wise where I think something like that is possible. But if you were a betting man and Corbin Burnes was not pitching again in 2025, I don't think you would be betting on the Diamondbacks to make the postseason. And this is a team that, on the positive side of that, this is a team that has some expiring contracts that I think could be enticing for teams at the trade deadline.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, there's different windows. There's cycles, windows to win, windows to not win. There's windows to sell. Sometimes you have more expiring contract and more assets that you can actually put on the market. And if you're not close, it doesn't make sense to, try to take a long shot on a guy and expend a lot of trade capital. So take the other route and look at the possibility of saying, hey, I'm going to lose these 5-6 guys anyway. I mean, they're all free agents at the end of the year. And when I say they, I mean, let's just go down the list real quick. Merrill Kelly is a free agent. Zach Gallen is a free agent. Eugenio Suarez is a free agent. Josh Naylor is a free agent. Shelby Miller is a free agent. Jalen Beeks is a free agent. Randall Grichuk has a mutual option. Those never get picked up. So he's a free agent, essentially. Right. And then Kendall Graveman, there's a team option on him. If he's, worth anything at the trade deadline, then he's probably worth picking up the option. So, that one I probably shouldn't include. But there's at least 7 guys here, if you include Grichuk, on expiring contracts. That's a lot. And, I think that they could potentially pick up a lot of guys to fill their minor league pipeline, maybe pick up a couple of major league ready players that could help them in 2026. And it's not like you're, rebuilding and tearing it down to the studs. Those 7 guys are free agents next year, no matter what. And you can still bring any of them back if you want them. Like, I mean, if Merrill Kelly left, but really wanted to come back to Arizona, they could conceivably, be the team that offers him a contract. And if they're expecting to hold on to him to the end of the year and then lowball him and get him to sign a contract to stay home in Arizona, hometown discount. I mean, if they think they can get him to do that, they could get him to do that after letting him go pitch for 2 months for a contender. Hey, go have fun with the Phillies or whoever, and pitch in the postseason. That would be kind of ironic if that's where he ended up.
It would,
considering his history with Phillies fans.
Maybe they'd ease up on him a little bit, but I don't know. After some of the things they said the last time around, I don't know if that's possible.
Only if you pitch great. Would they ease up
right.
Philly?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We'll save the bulk of that conversation for whenever we know. And as you said earlier, we might not find out about Corbin Burnes until the end of the week, based on some past experience with these situations. Maybe we find out some big news, middle of the day, Monday or something like that. We'll do our best here to keep you all posted on the news and the implications. But I guess on the front end, we could just say that if in fact the Diamondbacks season is headed south, and I think we can all agree that whether Corbin Burnes is hurt or not, it's not exactly headed in a great direction right now. But maybe there could be a silver lining to the Diamondbacks having a year where they sell and they reload their farm system again, and maybe it puts them in an even better position, significantly so, in 2026 than they would be in otherwise. We'll certainly be here to see how it all pans out. We really appreciate all of you being with us here in this Monday edition of Snakes Territory, which we did technically record here on Sunday evening. We really appreciate you being here with us. If you haven't already, be sure to drop a like on this video. It helps with the YouTube algorithm gods that we are all very beholden to. You can also drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so you never miss a show. We have 3 episodes coming for you here on Snakes Territory every single week. If you listen to the show over on an audio-only platform, we'd love it if you'd leave us a rating and review over there. Jack does a great job covering the Diamondbacks over on Arizona Diamondbacks on SI. You can find his work at si.com/MLB/Diamondbacks. And of course, you can find us on social media. I'm at Jesse N. Friedman. Over on Twitter, Jack is at ShoeWizard59, and our show is at Snakes Territory. Jack, any final thoughts as we finish off this show about a whole lot of not great things happening in the Diamondbacks world?
The best thing about baseball is there's another game tomorrow, at least until the end of September. So, love baseball. Enjoy what you can. That's my advice.
There you go. All right. Well, we very much appreciate all of you being with us, and we'll be back with another episode of Snakes Territory very, very soon.